We're going to continue now with shape layers. Again, you can have multiple shapes on one shape layer. I'll show you what I mean here. So right now, I'm going to just close the transform box so you can't see the keyframes, although you can see that they're there. You see that this is telling me under transform, you can see that there's a little couple markers there. You can see that there are keyframes set. So let me go into this shape layer. As soon as you click it, you see the path, you see the bounding box. Let's go into the contents for a second, and you can see there's rectangle 1. If I were to hide it, that's the yellow rectangle. Notice that I've got transform down here as well, and I've got transform under that. What's that all about? The bottom transform will transform everything in this shape layer. And then if you open up contents and go to each individual shape that you've maybe created in that shape layer, you can transform them separately. So I'm going to just do that quickly, show you what it is, just so you don't get confused. The first thing is this: if you want to make another shape on the same shape layer, you must have it selected. I'm going to go up to my shapes. I'm going to go to ellipse. I'm going to make this a round circle. Hold shift, click, and there's round. I'm going to change its color to, I don't know, a cyan blue. There we go. Okay, so now I've got a second shape because I had this shape layer selected. Now I've got an ellipse and a rectangle. And each of them, if I open them up, I've got stroke and fill, and I can also transform each of these two shapes in this one shape layer separate from each other. Okay, so that's an important distinction, because if I go to transform down here, I'm now transforming this entire shape layer. So let me show you what I mean. Right now I've got two keyframes set on this shape layer transform. Let's see if they both move together. Yeah, they do. You see, because this object that I've just added, this circle, is on the same shape layer as the rectangle, and I've set the transform to be the master transform for this shape layer. Does that make sense? So as soon as I add something else, so if I go and add something else, shape layer selected, if it's selected, you're going to add something new onto that same, there we go. Okay, so I'm now going to see if I transform all three of these things together. Let's see. Take my play bar back. Oh, the star's off the screen because it's way off to the left, and it comes on. So all three objects in that one shape layer work together. But that's usually not what you want unless you really get into some much more complex animations. So I'm going to go to the ellipse one, which is the bluish circle, and I'm just going to delete it. Gone. I'm going to go to Polystar. Delete it. Gone. Okay, so the only thing now is this yellow rectangle on this one shape layer. So how do I add a new shape without adding it to this same shape layer? Here's the key. You must not have anything in your layers panel selected, or you're going to be adding to whatever's already selected. You're going to be adding the new shape to that shape layer. So you've got to just click off of it. Make sure it's deselected, and notice I don't have the bounding box or anything anymore. If I select it, I'm now in this shape layer, and that's where I'm going to create the new object. Again, your visual cue is if you see the bounding box, just click off of it anywhere. Okay. Now if I go and let's add a star, click and drag, go to my selection tool and drag it, you notice now what I've got is a second shape layer. That's where the star is. Okay, I can turn that whole layer off, shape layer off, and just the star turns off. I turn this shape layer 1 off, it'll be just the yellow. And if you notice that I take my play bar back and hit play, the only thing that animates is the yellow rectangle because it was transformed on its own layer. Okay, I transformed it using the master transform in that layer because there's only one thing there. If I had multiple things, again, I could go into the contents, into the rectangle, and I could transform the rectangle separate from something else in that layer. Okay, so to start out, I highly recommend you keep all of your layers separate for now, and you can animate them as individual items. See, if I roll over, I get the still on that star. Okay, so that's shape layer creation in a nutshell. Again, deselect before you actually draw a new shape, or it will add that to the contents and add the shape to the same shape layer, and then you can't really, it's much more difficult to handle